Hello users of YouTube, and this is Daniel, and welcome to one of my other videos. And this is another computer video, and this time it's going to be demonstrating my Altair 8800. And I'm going to be trying it out with my new computer that I just built using the Chinese generic no-name brand serial and COM/LPT port bracket that I got with my computer, and I want to test out the serial port with it. Haven't tested it out the LP. I haven't I don't have any devices to test the printer port out yet, but my mother has a parallel based printer at her house, so maybe I can try it there someday, but we'll see. But anyway, the main subject of this video is my Altair, and if you notice, my Altair used to be on that table right there where my iHome speaker / instructions binder and my iPad is right now. That's where it used to be, and I wanted to try to put it in this media center just to see if it would fit, and it kind of does. I even lifted the shelf up a little bit, so it looks like it's like a server or something. It's like, yeah, it's like a server. No, I'm joking. Okay, alrighty. So everybody, you guys, if you've seen my previous videos about my computer, you can see it. But this is going to be my first video demonstrating my Altair 8800. But there's a catch to it, and I'll tell you after this thing powers up. And if you be careful, you might be able to hear a new startup sound that I changed it. I replaced it from Morning Mr. Finch to something different. So I'm going to turn on the computer by typing my keyboard password. Now it's on. Now just turn the monitor on. The speaker's already on. So while that boots, takes about 45 seconds to boot into Ubuntu, roughly. Less than that. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. And this video is going to be demonstrating both both CPM version 2.2, I think, and AK Basic. So I'm going to be demonstrating both of those operating systems. I'll show you guys how to load it and whatnot. There we go. Ubuntu OS is already loaded, so now if I type in my password, you will be able to hear my new login sound.
Insert cheesy reverb here. Real computers have floppy drives.
And now we're logged in. That sound came from that quote came from one of UXW Bill's newest videos. It's newest as of when I make this video. It's called a Linux, it's like a Linux rant or something, and like a PC build or something. But it was one of his PC build videos. Like, he builds his own computer, and he said that like during the video, and I just could not stop laughing. It was hilarious because he always says that in his earlier videos. So it's a good reminder for some people. And I personally think that, yes, computers that are very great and real and bold do have floppy drives. Unfortunately, I wanted to put a floppy drive in this, but I just simply don't have a floppy drive controller in this. But I do have an external USB floppy drive. That is, I don't know if it's in working condition, but it does the job when it does. But I'm not really sure if it works. Not since I last tested it. So anyway, we are now loaded to the desktop. I don't know if I have putty installed, but we're not going to be using putty, because putty's been having some issues with computer related whatnots. You know, actually I'm just going to use putty. I think putty's fine. Putty, my dad uses this when he works. He uses this for connecting to servers at his work. But putty is just a basic command line interpreter, which allows you just to connect to different stuff through serial port or through telnet or SSH. But we're not going to be connecting to SSH or telnet. We're going to be doing serial, and we're going to be using this port dev/TTYS0. Alrighty, so basically I'll just open it on here, and unfortunately do not open the serial port. So there's a possibility we might be having to use Minicom, which I have. Alrighty, so now my computer is loaded on here. I'm going to show you guys how to get this thing loaded up. I'm gonna go ahead and put this thing on its tripod, just standing right here and waiting for a camera to be taken. Now, when the operating system loads the AK Basic OS, it's going to be loading it into RAM, of course, or not RAM. What am I thinking? No, it's going to be not a hard process, but it'll be not something that most people are not used to anymore. In fact, I'm going to take it back about the tripod. Before I get this computer ready, we're going to have to get other stuff ready before we did that already. So first, I'm going to open up my custom-built MITS binder for my Altair 8800. Move my iHome speaker out of the way. And before we can load AK Basic, we must get the operating system itself. And the only way we can load it is through a audio cassette recorder that I have. I'm not audio cassette. I actually originally went with an audio cassette player, but that was cheap and it didn't work. And it was a stupid RCA products, which I personally think they are failing to make these days very well. But anyway, I got this for 20 bucks on Amazon. This is an Olympus digital voice recorder. You can get this for a lot more on other websites, but I was able to get it at a deal, surprisingly very cheaply. Did not come in its own box though, but it's brand new and I have it. So right here I got these audio cables. One is the play, so this one would go into the headphones jack on that, and this one's for recording. That would go into the fail. That would go into the microphone jack on this. But we're just going to plug this into the headphone, so that would just go into the ear. If I can show you guys, it goes into the ear, and it does have its own built-in microphone. So I could probably use this for college, but I'm not in that, and that'll be years from now. Perhaps I won't even be making YouTube videos by the time I'm in college. So very simple, just turn it on, just checking. Does not have any USB interface. This is just, the only way you can get audio files off of this is to connect this earphone jack to the microphone or the line in and put on a computer, probably line in, because I think this is a powered earphone jack. So I already have the program set to AK Basic. There are 4 other operating systems on here. There's AK Basic, 4K Basic version 3.2 and 4K Basic version 4. This is AK Basic version 4. I'm not sure what's on the first file. But anyway, AK Basic takes about 4 minutes and 30 seconds to load at its current speed, and I don't know what this baud rate is, but either way, this goes to the optional cassette interface that's in the computer, which I do have. I know I'd be using it, and I could always load the operating system through the serial port, which is a lot faster, but I prefer the old way. So our method of loading is ready to go, but the most important thing we must do is to load the to load the bootstrap loader in the leader detector. I'm alright, guys. Blah. Why am I? Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and get from my binder the bootstrap loader, which is not a tape at all. It's just a piece of paper with the code to load the operating system on it. So I need to find that, and it's in places unknown, unfortunately. I'm joking. It's somewhere in here. Get through it eventually. So what I'm going to show you guys is 8K Basic, which runs off of 8K of RAM. Alrighty, found it. I also do have the bootstrap loader for 4K Basic, but I don't really like that version because it doesn't allow you to save programs to the cassette. Alrighty, so here's the AK Basic and leader detector bootstrap loader, and there's my Altair 8800, and later in the video I'll tell you what it really is, because it's not all what it seems. I'm going to turn the lights off because, like, I don't know, wait. I think I can see it. Alrighty. So, when I turn it on, you're going to see the pretty lighting. So, simply turn the switch on and the computer is ready to go. That's what Altairs are, and they've always been that way. So I'm going to turn off the display and there we go, now I can see the whole thing, and it looks like my camera's focusing on the haze coming from over there. Don't know why, But either way, it's weird. Alrighty. Not supposed to clean that with my fingers, but I might have to. Okay, I don't know, you're gonna have to ignore that haze if you can see it. Here's how you would enter a code into the computer. The code is entered through switches 0 to 7 on the Altair, and then you can enter up to 3, 7, or you can enter up to 7 on these first two switches, and 3 on these two switches. To enter code on the computer, to enter a 1 or a 0, it would be just all switches down. This is going to be for the first bank. So this would be 0, 0, 0 right now. This right now is 0, 0, 0. To enter a 1, you just flip the first switch up on 0, and now you have 0, 0, 1. And that same thing applies to these switches. I flipped up number 6, that would be 101. Now I flipped down 0, now it's just 100. This is 300, 200. So that's how you enter code onto this. Now entering code, the numbers is the same way on all switches. It's just you're entering it in a different position. So it would be hundreds, the tens and the ones, I guess, if you looked at it on 0, 0, 0. So this would be a 1 on this side, would be a 1. That would be a 1.
I got mail.
That's my iPad telling me I got mail.
Yay!
I have to fix that. I don't know why the camera is picking up the weird stuff. But anyway, so this is a 1. That's a 2. That's a 3. This is a 4, if you can see it. This is 5. That's a 6. And that's a 7. And entering code applies on this one too. So entering code on both of these is the same way. But entering code on here is different because you only have 2 switches to program, so it'd just be 1, 2, 3. That's it. So code is entered in through something they call a well, I'm not really sure what they call it, but it's not hex code, definitely. So this is how the code looks when you want to enter it. Address is the different addresses the data is stored in, but the numbers you're really looking at is the data. And we're going to enter the AK bootstrap loader right here. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and enter the leader detector, which is a very small piece of code. So I'm going to go ahead and start programming in front of you guys. So I got my paper, and I'm going to be holding on to it while I program into the computer. And of course, it's blurry. So now I flip my camera so I can see myself, or just see the computer. Let me just fix that. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing a weird lighting effect like that, but I think it's for some whatever reason, my camera recognizes the Altair as a face, so that's kind of strange. And my camera keeps focusing on it. Hold on a minute. Let me fix that. Okay, so when turning the lights on, I noticed that weird dot you might see on the screen is not as visible. But I think today might be a very humid day and water's getting under the lens or something like that. But I'm not really sure. This camera is somewhat old, and and this was my first real camera, so bear with me and try your best. Alrighty, so now you can see the computer much easier. If you hear some white noise in the background, this might be the case fan inside. There's a little fan inside, just for show. I don't think it really matters if it was removed. It's just for show and effect. And I'm going to tell you why right now. This computer is actually an Altair 8800 clone. And this clone is almost an exact replica of the original Altair 8800 on the hardware side. And mostly looks, the looks of the Altair 8800 clone look a lot like the original, especially when you just look at the front panel, and you'll be surprised on the hardware it uses. I'm going to tell you right now that everything, the motherboard, the lighting controller, the switches, they're all mounted onto one board. The physical motherboard in this thing is just on a board that is just literally kissing the panel. Because right now the switches and the light, those are all on the same board. So it's basically everything is on one board on the front of the computer. And I got this computer from a man named from a man named Mike Douglas, and he makes Altair 8800 clones. I think he's based in Texas. His company is FarmTech, and you can give them a call. I'll show you the site really quick before I close the program. And when I end the video, I'll show you the site real quick. And anyway, the computer emulates an 8080A, revision A, and has a whopping 64 kilobytes of RAM, which is actually a lot of money back then to purchase for this kind of computer. And it also emulates 2 floppy drives, actually 3 I think, and it also has PROM in it, and I already have one PROM enabled. The PROM that I have enabled, it enables the ability to load the bootloader for CPM much easier. So I have the PROM enabled for the bootloader. So that's just kind of a little background. Oh, and everything else, the motherboard is on the front panel. On the back, you also have serial ports connecting. There's just 2 serial ports connected directly to this motherboard back here. And I also have, there's also a little power supply back in the corner back there. It's a Meanwell power supply, and that is connected to a 3-prong plug that is plugged in, and it currently works. And it's also powering the motherboard too. The cassette interface is another one. It's actually held on by the audio jack screws for the line in and line out. So it's held on with the Allied jack screws, and there's a port on the motherboard on here to help you to make use of those jacks. So that's very nice. And I also have that cassette interface also gives you a 3rd serial port. Now this thing also has the ability to use a parallel printer. There are 1 serial ports for the terminal and the other one's for the printer. I tested that port out by connecting my laptop, which was also running a terminal program, to that port and using another computer with the other port, and I was able to actually print information out of it, so that was pretty cool. But I'm not really sure if the cassette adapter, the cassette interface's serial port works, because I tried it once and it didn't seem to work. But maybe I was just using it wrong. But maybe someday I can maybe try to get it to work. Alrighty. Well, anyway, it is possible that you can actually run this computer on AA battery, so if like a power goes out or you just don't have power in your house at all, or you're camping, you can just bring AA batteries, and you could, because actually the power plug on this motherboard is actually a standard typical power socket plug, you know, like DC plugs with like, wait, here, I'll show you an example. So the power plug is basically one of these things, and it's exactly how that power supply connects to. It just connects to one of these. So it's a DC based motherboard, and it powers off the power supply, which converts that AC current to DC current. So basically you don't even have to use the power supply comes with it. You can just use a wall wart power adapter. And that's basically kind of it. I'm not really sure what the voltage is rated for on this computer. I think it's 6 volts. I'm not sure what the amperage or the wattage is, but either way it works, and it works great. And I think you can actually use like the floppy disk and all that is actually saved on the computer if you unplug it and or turn it off. So that's a good feature. And I just lost my bootstrap loading program. Alrighty, enough with that long discussion about the machine's internals and whatnot. See if I can get the display and how much minutes I have used already. 6 minutes. I'm pretty sure that other video I just did was also a very long one. But anyway, let's go ahead and start loading the AK Basic program. And I will show you guys CPM after this. Alrighty, so I'm going to tell you guys the code while I load it. And oh, and by the way, that tape recorder I'm using, that tape recorder really is awesome and just works. But there's no way to interface with the computer, but of course you can just record the information to a computer like through the line-in jack. But it also runs off of 3 AAA batteries, so this thing can be completely mobile. And you don't, and you could just use the, yeah. So that's pretty neat. So another thing I want to say before I go is this whole big case. This case is kind of unnecessary for this kind of computer that's inside. In fact, this can be actually a lot shortened. In fact, if you just used a standard wall wart power adapter, you could actually use this thing with just the front panel. You don't need the whole case at all. But it's recommended for grounding, especially for grounding. But the case is just for looks, not for anything important besides ground, and to hold the internals in. But yeah, that's pretty much my whole thing. So basically the whole thing can be, the whole computer, most of the stuff that's in this thing is on this board behind the front panel. And I will show you guys the inside in another video, because this thing, I just put it into this thing and I had to plug in plugs and unplug plugs, and it's kind of a pain to remove it now, so I should have done that before I did the video. But anyway, another video will be shown to show the inside. It will probably be very short, but alright. Let's go ahead and begin entering the code, and we're going to go ahead and start. So, the first thing we want to do before entering anything in the computer is to reset the memory and get it ready for programming. Now if you notice, the AA8 light might be out when I reset it, because when you reset the computer, all the lights show on this whole indicator thing. All the lights will turn on, and you may notice that the A8 light is going to be out because that was just my faulty soldering. Again, I tried my best when I made this computer, but the A8 light will probably be out because of my faulty soldering. And I'm not really good solderer anyway, so bear with me about that. So to reset and clear the memory, you just do stop, reset, and that, yeah, the light's out, isn't it? Alright, so just to fix that, just jiggle the, there we go. So just stop and reset, you flip the switches up, and then that completely clears the memory, but it does not clear the PROM. I don't know what PROM stands for anyway, but alright. So I'm going to start entering the program, and it's also very easy to fix code that you've entered incorrectly. Alrighty, so here's how you begin entering your program. So first you flip on a, you start by entering 041. So I flipped up 4 on the middle one and 1 right here. So that's 4, that's 41, 041. So you just do deposit, and now it deposits into the first address. And after that, now you just go along with the code, you just keep going. Next code is 302, and I am gonna enter it in, but I'm not gonna start like going through it like long go-throughs, but I'm just gonna enter it in right now, so you're gonna probably hear some mumbling about code entering and whatnot. So I got 41, 302 is the next one. So deposit next this time. 37. So just 3 and 7. 61. $22, 0, 333, 6. Now we finished our first bank of address entering. Now we go on to the middle one. And the first line of there is 17. Just flip up 1 and then 17 and then deposit next, and then 330 and 333, 7, 275. Okay, there we go. 310, 055, 'Felt like I've entered that before, and 167. Alrighty, we just entered our second bank of code. Now the last 4 digits, or the last bank of code. So the next set is 300, and deposit next. 351, 351, 3, and 0. So now we just entered the bootstrap loader, and now we need to enter the second program, which goes in the address 8 slot. So we just flip on that and we hit examine, and there is currently stuff in there. And if you notice, that light kind of delayed a little bit, because again, that light is because of my soldering. I did not do well at soldering, but I was surprised I was even able to get this thing to actually work, and I was surprised how good of a job it is. But if you, in case you don't notice it, there's for some whatever reason, everything seems to go in towards the center of the computer if you look at it. So everything sticks out on the edges, but it goes, the LED, okay, better example, the LEDs stick out more farther to the edges than into the center. So if you notice, there'll be like a curve in, but it doesn't seem to affect its performance, at least for about the 6 or 7 months I've actually had this machine. I, by the way, got the you can get 2 versions of this. You can get the kit, which you can assemble yourself, and the assembled version, both of which are the same price, $621. Very expensive, but that's actually how much the computer cost in the day. But anyway, it is a very neat machine to have, and it looks kind of cool when you have it. Alright, so I'm in the address 8, and again that light just shut off. But so now we're going to enter the leader detector, which is my favorite part because the LED the entering for the switches is kind of fun. So now we switch off the address 8 light and begin entering. So 333, and this time we do deposit 7. As you can tell, that light probably flashed if you didn't see it. But notice that light's staying on because it's entering data into that address. So now we do deposit next for the 3, and now we do 376, 302, 302 again, and 0. It doesn't make a difference if that light's on or off. It just indicates if it's there, if you're in that position. And then 1 and 303 and 0 and 0. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of background history about AK Basic. AK Basic, believe it or not, was actually invented by Bill Gates and Paul Allen of Microsoft. Which, yes, again, they actually worked for MITS back in the 1970s, and they actually, if it wasn't for them creating AK Basic, or Basic in general, for this machine, I don't think Microsoft would have ever existed. And anyway, they took a chance by making the OS, and they took it and they got it, and that's how they are popular today. So basically, if it wasn't for this machine, there would probably be never no Microsoft, and possibly no Apple, but probably not the case. Apple probably would have been different if Microsoft didn't exist. But anyway, enough of that. We entered the code, and now we are going to go ahead and load the program. Before we do, we must flip on certain switches for the cassette interface to know where to go, or for the computer to know where the cassette interface is. And I'm not really sure what codes you had to flip up. So to the first program that we need to load when loading the OS, we need to load the bootstrap loader. So I already got that loaded. So now we just flip on address 9, and that light just shut off again, and I think address 12. Now let me make sure that's correct, because I haven't used BASIC in a while. I've been using CPM a lot more. Alright, there we go. Raise it address 12 position up, so that's right. And I'll tell you what it does. This tells this checksum loader, which is the bootstrap loader, and basic that a 2SIO serial board with one stop bit is the control and is the console interface. So this tells what the terminal is and where the terminal is used from, which would be my computer down there. Address A8 and A9 tells the bootstrap loader that the cassette interface is being used to load BASIC. So this is telling this is the bootstrap loader is being used to load the OS. So now, simply, if the lights don't flash on the screen like crazy, or just a big solid red lights show up, then I would have entered it correctly. So now all you do is just hit run, and that's a good sign because that means the OS has been loaded correctly. Alrighty, so now this is going to take about 4 minutes to load, so I'm going to go ahead and deattach this camera to the tripod, and I'm going to kind of fast forward or stop the video while it loads the OS. So now what we do, going back to this, as you can see it turned off because it hasn't been used. So here's how we do it. So we wake it up from its sleep mode, and all we do is just hit play. We need to make sure that the volume is set at 17, I think. 17, yeah, because that's the optimal volume for the Altair to hear it. As you can see, I have it set to high quality, and it's now I'm just going to play the operating system, and it'll load from the cassette recorder. So there we go. Now it's loading, and you're going to see the LEDs change color and do different things. So right now the leader detector is waiting for the leader to end, which is a solid tone. There we go. Now it tripped on the actual loading, the bootstrap loader. So now that's going to wait until the program has been found, and then it'll the lights. Yep, there we go. So the light switched again, and now that's showing that the computer is loading the operating system from the cassette port. And if we look on my computer, hopefully the light shouldn't be, there should not be like a flashing character across the screen. If there is, then we've entered the program incorrectly. But now it's loading the OS, and it's going to take about 4 minutes to load, and just because it's showing this is a very good sign. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the video going. I'm going to turn this into fast, or I'm just going to stop the video right here, and I'm going to play it right before it starts, before it loads the OS. Alright people, this is about the last 30 seconds of the program is about to load. So right now the computer is about almost done. There's about roughly 30 seconds left on the computer. And pretty soon you're going to see the lights change again. And that'll tell us that the OS is ready to be used. Very soon. There we go, it loaded. Now, if it worked correctly, and I'm pretty sure it did, if you looked on my new computer, you should see on the screen memory size, and if you look, there it is there. So right now I'm using Minicom, which is a terminal program that allows you to use stuff through the serial port, like COM stuff, and right now it says memory size. So that's a very good sign. Now, I kind of screwed up the way you plug in the serial ports into this machine. There's a possibility that typing the memory size in will not work, but it should, I hope. If it doesn't, then I'll have to open the case up and try to fix it, which will actually need me to pull the whole thing out, which would be a pain in the butt, but hopefully that won't be the case. But anyway, so it looks like the COM port worked. The fact that I can actually see that on the screen, very good sign. So this thing has 64 kilobytes of RAM, so we're just going to go ahead and hit enter. Awesome, it detected the keyboard. Terminal width, we're also going to let it guess that. Want, sin, sine, co, tan, atin, I think that's like calculator stuff. Or stuff that I'm supposed to learn a lot later, but yes, we hit yes, and that I go. 58,756 bytes free. Altair Basic Revision 4.0 8K version. Copyright 1976 by MITS Incorporated. If you loaded MBasic on CPM, which is it's a much better version of this. It has a lot more features than this one does not have. It actually has the ability to, not ability, but it will actually say copyright like 1981 Microsoft instead of MITS. Because by the time they released BASIC, and about roughly a year or two later, that's when the company kind of died down, and it kind of slowly killed itself. It like died. The company, when it made its Altair, it was pretty successful for a short period of time. Right when the Altair came out, that was about the time the Apple II came out, and Commodore Apple II came out, and the Tandy the Tandy TRS Model 80 came out. It was like all these new computers came out in the '77, and that pretty much killed the Altair completely. But the Altair 8800 was actually one of those computers that you could build as a kit, and that was one of them. And the reason you could buy the assembled version, but that was more expensive, but you can just build it yourself. And a lot of the times when you build it yourself, it wouldn't last the building. So it's very rare to find some of these computers in working condition these days. But of course you can always fall through the Cologne method, which is also, Mike Douglas also sends this computer in different like countries. If you live in like United Kingdom or something, he'll send you the computer. Of course the shipping will probably be expensive, but he'll send you the computer with the correct power plug for that country you live in, like the special like plugs it uses. So he does send different types of power plugs for this computer to allow it to be used in different countries. But I have the US version. At least the power plug is for the United States power plug. But anyway, enough rambling, and let's go ahead and play around with 8K Basic for a little bit. So 8K Basic adds a lot of features that 4K Basic does not have. 8K Basic also has the ability to save programs on a cassette, which is always a good feature. But one problem that I always had with 8K and 4K Basic is you cannot backspace when you type. So here's an example. I'm going to type in gobbly garbage, and I was like, oops, I didn't want to type that. And I backspace, and it does not delete. And I'm pretty sure there's a way you can do that, but in order to fix that, you just hit enter, and then hopefully it'll just give you an error. But when you type in stuff in, you want to hope you type it in very well, and also you want to make sure caps lock is on, because 8K Basic does not recognize 8K and 4K Basic does not recognize lowercase letters. As you can tell, the whole thing is capitalized. So I'm going to make a very short program, and then we're going to turn this machine off and boot into CPM. So here's how we make a program using the basic. So we just do 10. Hopefully I can type this in correctly. 10. That's where I failed. And that's where we need to fix it. 10, print, colon, not colon, but quotation mark, hello, and I spelled hello wrong because I keep hitting shift, world. Hopefully it'll recognize it as some character and it'll accept it. Alrighty, so I hope it accepted it. Now we just do 20, go to 10, and this program right here I'm typing, which I failed now, so I'm going to retype that. 20, go to, and I spelled go to wrong. 20, go to 10. This is typically the first program most people would make on any basic program, on like any computer that has basic. It's a hello world program that'll just flash across the screen. So to list it, you just type in list, and that shows the program in the memory or in the computer, and for some whatever reason it does not display the characters in front of the numbers like that. It just shows quotes question mark. Well, at least on this it does. On my laptop, which is Windows 8, and I use putty with it, which works on that, it does a different character, but on here it looks like it's just showing question marks. But either way, the computer does recognize print hello world and go to 10. So to make it run, you just type in run, and it does look like it recognized the lowercase h. And there we go. Oh, and I'm sorry, if you do look on the computer, you actually get to see the light flash. So let's see if you can see it if I break the program. Yeah, you saw it. And if you be careful enough, certain lights will flash when you type stuff in. really see it, but I can't really see it at the angle. But anyway, that would happen. But if you use this in CPM, you really get to see the lights flicker like crazy, because that's the this is just basically telling you what the processor is doing at the moment. So that's just kind of a heads up for the processor, a HUD or whatever you. Alrighty, people, that is 8K basic on the Altair. And again, we will have to use the command line when we use the CPM OS. CPM, we're going to be using CPM 2.2, and it is very, very quick to load because I already have the program already ready. So, I'm pretty much going to put it on the tripod because my hand is getting hurt. Alrighty, to load the CPM OS, I like to turn the machine off because just to let it diffuse, clear RAM out. So now the computer is off and cleared from the OS in order for us. So now if you just run it, it won't load it. It'll just be a screen because all the code that was in the RAM is now corrupted and gone. So to load it, just do stop up and reset up, and that just clears the memory out and looks like the address light came on correctly, the address 8. And how I already have the program ready is I have the disk bootloader is what they call it, and that's for different programs that use that. And anyway, I have that program in the PROM that is enabled. So basically, to get access to that, I also have CPM 2.2 in the virtual floppy disk in the machine already. So to activate it, you just flip on address 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. I think it's those. If it's not, then it won't load at all. You just flip those on, you just hit run, and that was not it. So, oh, duh, I forgot. Now, once you flip address 8 through 15 up, you hit examine, and there's the program right there.
Mail.
Now I just got another mail.
I got mail. Yay!
Alright, so now you just hit run, and the lights flash loading the OS. And when I remove the camera from the tripod, you guys look on the screen, and you can see now at the bottom it says 56K CPM. Let me see if I can get a better view at that. There you go. 56K CPM version 2.2 by MITS, or the Altair version. They made this for many different computers. Copyright, there's even a specific date. I think that's July 28th, 1980. I think that's what the 7th is. Let me make sure. So May's the 5th. Yeah, that's July. So copyright 1980 by Burcon Incorporated. And of course, when you type in stuff on here, these lights flicker like crazy. Now I think if you look in the middle of the A8 and A7 light, they do flash. At least I don't see it, but yeah. But here you can see it, the lights demonstrating in action when I just typed in the garbage and hit enter. See? It would say that, and now if you look on this computer, it would say, what did you just enter? Alrighty, so I got some programs on here already, so you just do list. And it does not know what I meant because it does not recognize capital letters. It's basically like Linux. And I'm not doing it right. I think it's dir. That was dir, that's what it was. So there it is, all the files. The programs that are on the virtual floppy drive, the boot disk. I don't know which program is my Pythagorean theorem program, but it's somewhere. Yes, this is the same Altair I used to show you guys my Pythagorean theorem program. And you can see there is many programs. There's MBasic, which I use, and my Altair program does work in that. So you just do MBasic, just enter, and that would load the op program. If you can see, the lights are flashing. It does take a little while. There we go. Now it finally loaded. Now here we have they call it Basic 80, and this is the CPM version 5.21, copyright 1977 to 1981 by Microsoft instead of MITS, because MITS was already long gone by this time, by the 80s. Just like the Monkees were very popular in the 60s, but by the time the 70s roll around, they disappeared, and that's basically what happened to MITS. The only difference is they never came back. And I love this version of Basic. Unfortunately, it doesn't use all of the 64 kilobytes because The operating system, I think, uses a lot of that bytes, or a lot of those kilobytes, and so does the BASIC, so I'm only down to 26 kilobytes of memory. And the operating system uses 56 kilobytes rather than 64, so I lose about 10 kilobytes of usable memory. But either way, it works, and that's more than enough kilobytes for what I'm just going to do on here. So, for this version, luckily you can do backspacing, which I really like. And that's why I prefer this over 8K Basic, but 8K Basic is cool to have. So same thing on here, you can do lowercase, which is better, so you can do 10 print. I can do it much more formal. Hello world. See, now just do 20. Go to, and I spelled go to wrong, but luckily we can fix that because it has used the backspace. 10. And now you just do run, and it recognizes all of it. And it works. So now you'll be seeing more light flashing when I hit cancel. Yep, or break. I'm going to ready to load a program. Loading the program does not load it from the cassette interface. I don't know if you can, but loading the program is from the floppy drive. So you just do the virtual floppy drive. So you just do load, and then you do colon the program you want, which I think my calculator is ptc dot bass, which is the basic extension. And when you load it, it loads it. It makes cool flashes. And as you can see, it loaded it, because that's where it is. Let me see if this is my program. I am getting this confused with it. Alrighty, so there's my AK Basic program. Or not AK Basic, but my Pythagorean theorem program. I'm going to go ahead and just going to delete a line. Alrighty, I just deleted something because I needed to. So now we can just run the program, and there it goes. It ran and it's working, and it did not work because something went wrong, and that something stinks. Now I just want to make sure that completely. I had to delete a line so I don't reveal my name, my full name. You know how it is. Oh, fail. I forgot how to delete name lines. Just at 40. Alright, no, it's at, and then, no, just 40. No, it was just 40, that's what I just typed in 40 and would erase the line. So run, so now it works, so there we go. Pythagorean Theorem Calculator version 1.2, copyright Daniel Geek Inc. 2014. What is the length of side A? So we're just going to do the 3, 4, 5 trick. Just type in 3, and then 4, and there's 5. So I'm going to run that program. I'm going to show you guys the computer calculating info when it running the whole number 3, 4, 5 trick again. So just 3, 4, and it does actually take a little bit longer to calculate that if you see the lighting, but it roughly takes about the same time to display it. But here's the program just hitting enter the whole time, and all the lights pretty much stay on, except for the A13. All the other lights, you may not see it, but it's probably a little bit more noticeable on A8 and A7. Those lights are flashing a little bit. Actually, all of these lights are flashing, but it's not really showing on the camera. They're all flickering, I mean. Now I just do break. Now I'm going to show you guys, and I'm loading Star Trek. Well, I don't know what they call it on here. I might enter it wrong. I think it's Star Trek, and unfortunately it does not let you do the arrow keys to fix something you've entered incorrectly. So I might actually enter this basic program incorrectly. But when you load it, these lights are gonna flash like cray-cray. If I got that correct. There is absolutely no AM radiation, so this is very quiet. In fact, you could unplug the fan in the back, and it would be completely quiet, and it'll still be as a computer. I guess I did find the program if it's taking this long to load the basic program. I guess I did find it because it says okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this camera on the tripod and show you guys the flashing lights a little bit more in depth. Because what I'm going to do on my computer is I'm going to do list, and it'll load that. It'll list the applications or the code in the program. So I'm just typing list in, and then we're going to see the lights. And a second now. Something is wrong. Oh, there we go. It didn't list. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, the lights are flickering like crazy because it's displaying all of the code used in that. And it is about roughly, so far I'm looking at about 35,000 lines of code so far. But that goes in by tens. It doesn't go through the ones position, so it's increments of 10. Which I typically use too, so I wouldn't say 9,000, maybe 900 lines. 700 lines of code would probably be more accurate. But it's still going. Now it just finished it. It says it goes up to about 9,260, which would probably be maybe 926 lines of code. I'm not really sure what the conversion would be, but it goes up in increments of 10, so yeah. But even then, they do skip some lines. For example, here's right here. I'm just talking to you. I'm not actually showing it to you. But if I'll say it's 85,200 and then 85,900, there's nothing in between that. So I'm not really sure exactly what code number is and like what number, like how many lines of code. But I'm assuming a lot. The fact that it actually took a very long time to load, and it is a very long and huge program. Now, you can install a word processor on here. You can use this as a word processor instead of programming on it, and you can install WordStar. I think I don't know how. I think it's very hard to use, but you know how it is. So now you just do run for that basic program, which also will be a lot of flashing. So this program I think is constantly working. But here we go, you hit run, there's your NCC 1701. It's still loading. Now the light stopped because it's waiting for me. I'll just hit yes. Your galactic mission starship located, and the lights are still flashing. So I think this program was very popular in its day. I don't really know how to play it, so wow, it took that many lines of code just to get to up where it is now. So break it line 2,600. 20, 20, 60. Alrighty, anyway, blah. Let's get out of this basic. And I don't think I can get out of it. At least I don't know what the command is to get out of basic. Alrighty, but to get out of basic, it's very simple. All you have to do is just hit stop, then just reset. Don't hit both, just reset and stop, and then hit run again. And it resets the operating system back to the start, and you can see it just says it shows A with the greater than symbol. Now you just do dir, and it's literally right back into the OS. Alrighty, so I don't know if I have WordStar on here, but I'm pretty sure it is programmed somewhere. I don't think I have WordStar. I think though I do have. Oh, there it is. Word. I don't know if it's WordStar or WordMaster. One of those. I think WM is it though. Oh wait, that's a game, I think. Nope, that is WordMaster. And it said no file name. So it's a program called WordMaster. I thought it was WordStar or something like that, but it's WordMaster. Release 5.55A, serial number KF222KF, which is included on the floppy, on the virtual floppy disk. Copyright 1978 Micropro International Corporation, which is like MIC, ridiculous, something like that. Copyright 1978. No file name, so I need to figure out how to use it. Again, no arrow key support. I think I can do help. Don't know if it'll work though. It'll probably say, what did you just type in? Nope, it actually recognized that as a new file. Alrighty, so now we're in the weird program. Unfortunately, it's going to save that program as what I just typed in, which is a stupid idea. I don't know how to get out of it though. I think There I just hit F. Oh, that's the help for the GNOME terminal. GNOME terminal. Most people pronounce it as GNOME. There's a Q displayed. Don't know what that means. Ah, board, yes. Don't know if that'll get out of the program. Yeah, it did. Alrighty. So now I'm gonna do that again. Word master. And I'm gonna do hi. I should have put an extension, but oh well. Might put one manually. Now it's loading that program again, and it says it was a new file, so I'm just going to type in hi. Don't know how to save. I don't know exactly. Is it like Control F1? Is it Control? No, that's weird. Control save is like, oh, interesting. Wait, what did I just do? I made the screen flash. You didn't see it. Just hit W and it made it flash. It's interesting, so if you hit Control and the WASD keys, it acts as arrow keys you would use on the computer. So that's very nice. Unfortunately, looks like the A just brings you back to the beginning. Oh, SD is like the back and forth, but the A is like the beginning of the line. I don't know what W does. Alrighty, so I don't know how to save, and I really have no idea how to use this program. So I'm just going to exit out of it if I can. I can get that Q to display. Whoop, I just put in some random code. Something that this cannot recognize. There we go. Nope, that did not do what I... Whoa, there we go. Video mode summary. Interrupted. So it can change the video mode. I don't know what that means though. So that tells me how to use it, I guess. Does not say anything about saving. At least I don't know if that is a program. So I'm gonna try to quit out of it. If there we go. Abort. Yes. Oh. Yep. There we go. Sorry. Alrighty. Keep getting basic and mbasic confused. Well, actually, no, that's not right. But anyway, so that is the whole basic program. Even has ls just like Linux. So variant of Linux, you can tell there's a program that says help. So anyway, that's WordMaster. Maybe WordMaster will have its own video someday in the future. But thank you for watching my tour of CPM. This is my part 2 video. My tour of CPM version 2.2 on my Altair 8800. And I will see you in the next video. I don't know what it will be, but thank you for watching, and leave a comment below if you have one. And thank you for watching my tour of my Altair 8800.